Today, I'm going to answer a question that I had just from choose to become a paralegal. What my absolute favorite? So great questions, Catherine. Um, I mentioned the why I chose to go in my towards this career in a lot of my videos, but I don't know that I've ever done a video just on that topic. So thanks for the suggestion. I appreciate it. And anybody that has any questions, post them below in the comments because I love doing videos for you all. Um, when I was running a plant nursery, it was time to, after 4 years of running it in this small, teeny tiny town in Oklahoma, where my husband had taken a job when we got married in New Jersey, and we moved to Chicago where corporate headquarters was. But after 4 years of traveling 100 days per year, we asked to be moved to where the actual plant was that manufactured the products, which was in Oklahoma. So eventually, after being a stay-at-home mom for 7 years, I wanted to, and I had worked at my church for 3 years, which was a great part-time job, and then went into business for myself, ran that for 4 years, and that came to an end. Went into a corporate job for, I don't know, it was something like 6 to 7 months or so. And it was one of those jobs where it's not worth your health to stay in. And I wondered what I would do. And I felt, honestly, I felt like I needed to build a career for myself, not just work for a company in an administrative position, but build an actual career where I could call the shots on how much I make salary, and then it will take 20 years to make. I mean, you're not, it's just like, it was almost like you're stuck in a box. So the job at the corporate place did not work out, and it was better psychologically not to be in that place. And so I thought, just for a short time, what could I do? Where could I make more money eventually? Not in the beginning, but eventually, where I'm not stuck in that salary box. And I didn't know for sure if that would be the answer, that going in a law firm would be the answer, but it was. And I did not start out in a paralegal job. There were paralegal degrees you could get, one degree in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I did my homework, and I found out that people were having trouble getting hired. And number two, that the person heading up the program at that time had not worked a day in a law firm, but was an attorney who had the degree but never worked a day in a law firm. So I looked at the logic of that and how much that would cost, and I did not have the money to spend on that. So I did not go that route. Instead, I decided to go after the jobs because I had great technical skills. I didn't know if my business experience would play into it. Where it played into it was that I knew how to treat clients, because I dealt with customers, dealt with the public every single day of 4 years in my own business, and then worked. When I was 16, I worked as a cashier. My first job, I had to interact with customers. I worked at the mall for a year and a half, probably a year. Worked for a veterinarian where I had to deal with the public after that. So there was a lot of jobs dealing with the public. I was bringing that to the table, plus my great technical skills. I was deficient in computers, in PCs. I was a whiz on the Macintosh, the Apple, which was way ahead, but I was not proficient on PCs. PCs were behind technically. So overcame that once I was on the job. Yes, I did get hired with zero experience, yes, but I did not get hired as a paralegal. I got hired as a legal receptionist slash legal secretary slash a person who, I'll call it a gopher, a person who buys all the office supplies and buys all the snacks. So they were getting, and then I did all the filing. I answered most of the phones, not all. The paralegal there helped with that because it was a small, tiny law firm of 3 attorneys. But that's where I cut my teeth. That's and I wasn't sure if I would like it or not. I was told in that job by the paralegal who was my mentor, hands down. But she made a statement that, it'd probably take you 10 years to become a full-fledged paralegal. That was very, very inaccurate to the tune of 9.5 years off, because in 6 to 7 months, I was a paralegal. Yes, I had to learn a lot in the second job that I took. That's where I started doing bona fide, that's where I did more paralegal work on my own. The first job, I worked 3 trials. The attorney that was my mentor there was adamant that I could do this and he would help me and all that, which is great. You don't find that in most law firms. I was blessed to have that in the first one. Because you don't find it, that kind of help in most law firms, that's why I developed my course, Paralegal Inner Circle class, which launches, by the way, at 12:01 tonight. And want more information, just go to my website, paralegalcoffeetalk.com, and look for the Paralegal Inner Circle class, which right now is where you can click to get on the wait list and enroll. All that does is make sure you get my email saying, hey, we've launched. So it's just reminder emails, that's it. So the reason to go into it is that it would use what I thought were my current skill sets, which is true, and then I would have to learn a ton more, which is right. And I was up for it. I also knew, that when people say stuff like it'll take you 10 years and everything, I didn't see how that was possible, that it would honestly, she was looking at it as you must go to school, you must get certified. That is not the case for this career. It wasn't 29 years ago the case, and it isn't now. Whether you're in California or any other state, the states have opened the doors up from the beginning that said, and when they made these regulations that said, hey, you can, somebody can go in, and technically the attorney's not supposed to name you a paralegal when you haven't deal. In regulations, it says if you've worked for an attorney for 3 years, you can then be called a paralegal. And working for an attorney, I mean doing heavy duty legal work, not clerical work, but clerical plus, they call it substantive paralegal work. So they put in those areas so that it wouldn't just, the attorneys don't like it when they're told that you can only hire people who've gone to school. They don't want that to happen. And so they don't pass laws like that. Okay? The regulations are that you can be called a paralegal right away when you graduate from school, an ABA approved school, American Bar Association school. And listen, 6 months into it, I was working for an attorney and I was being called a paralegal. And I did substantive heavy duty work in all my other jobs after that. And I never had to go to school to become a paralegal. There are many, even now, people have broken into immigration, into personal injury, just from watching these videos here on my YouTube channel. I offer my class to give you that edge, to give you more knowledge that you can add to your resume to make you feel more confident, because it is hard breaking in without knowledge. And let me say this, it's not true that the schools prepare you to hit the ground running on day one. That's a problem. Excuse me. What happens is that many people have gone through the 2-year schooling and became certified. They start the job and then they have somebody assigned to them to teach them how to do the work. So where's what's missing there, see? So I try to fill that gap with my course totally. That will make you feel more confident, make you feel that I can go in and handle the interview because I do have legal knowledge now. And I tell you how to get that legal knowledge. I teach you, but also have some third party free training that gets you up to speed in some areas. Okay. So, approximately 50 videos in the course, multiple downloads of PDFs. You cannot download the videos, but you can download the PDFs, and we have a private Facebook group. I did that because there's a gap in the system, and I totally enjoy the paralegal field, but I feel that people are left to the wolves when they start a new job. And even if the ad says that there's training, you can bet your bottom dollar that there's not. Even if they say it, they may give you like training here or there, and then they expect you to fly much too soon, and you're really not ready, and it's very frightening. So that's why the course, I was adamant that this course be created by me, because having been in the field for almost 3 decades now, and didn't stay at the same firm for 30 years. I went from firm to firm to firm for various reasons, to change the area of law I was working in, to up my salary, which was always a big deal for me. I wasn't dependent on an attorney saying, well, now you're worth a $2 or an hour, a dollar an hour raise, when you were worth much more than that. And so I wanted to control my career. And that's very important when you break into this. You're not under the thumb of anybody. You're orchestrating your own career. You're not controlled by anybody, but how much knowledge you gain, and you up your value quotient to you. And it's very important to change the mindset on that you're not an employee, but you're building a career that will give you flexibility, and that you will be well-rounded. Okay. So I went into the field to not have those limitations on me. I had been a business owner, the CEO of my own company, and I wanted to feel that I was building something for myself where I could help put my oldest daughter through college, which we did. We used my salary to put her through out-of-state college for 2 years. I wasn't making a lot when I started out. So you can't look at it as, I'm going to make $53,000. That's what Google says is the average paralegal salary. That does not pertain to the beginner. That's somebody who has buku experience. So don't let that permeate and give you a very warped view of what the salary really is. And don't ask me what the salary is. It differs from place to place, but it is low when you start out, because you know very little starting out, whether you went to 2 years of school or zero school. And you can start out with zero schooling. But I would suggest that you get in on this launch of the class. The registration is only open for a week, and then I close it down for several months. I only open it up a few times a year because we have then a group of people and we can work through it. Excuse me. It's the videos are on demand in my course. So you can watch them at 12 midnight, you can watch them at 3 in the morning. You can watch them during your lunch hour, and then you download the PDFs to your computer immediately when you get in the course. That's what I suggest. And come join us in the private group and ask questions. That's how you're going to learn. And it's jumping over fear hurdles, jumping over that doubt is a huge part of this. And then going for it. And knowing how to handle the interview. There's several videos in the interview module. Just go to the website, Paralegal Coffee Talk, and then look for the class up on the top, Paralegal Inner Circle Class Info, and watch the video there, read that, scroll to the bottom, get on the wait list. And excuse me. Okay, second part of Catherine's question was, What was my favorite area of law? Let's see. One of my favorite areas that is a very calm area of law, meaning it's not a stressful area. You know, litigation can be stressful where you prepare for trial, but I really like that. I like the changes that occur that you have to handle. So was personal, I worked in many different areas of law. Personal injury was not my favorite, but it's very interesting, really interesting. If you've come from a medical background and you like that world, that you've come from working in a doctor's office, you've seen everything, right? You come from a surgeon's office and you've seen a lot of medical records. That's very helpful in breaking into the personal injury field or automobile accident field. Um, I I think that depending on what kind of injuries it is, it can burn you out. Um, I'm reading your comment, Brandy. One second, let me put my glasses on. Well, first of all, paralegal employers are lawyers. So you don't need any of that, Brandy. You don't need a paralegal certificate. Listen to what I just said. No schooling is necessary. Okay, the paralegal certificate does not give you the practical everyday understanding of what you have to do. Not, it really does not. You know, it touches on some things. It's not long enough to give you what you need, and you can do it if that makes you feel better, but it's spending money that you don't need to spend. I don't like people going into debt to get into this career. We tend to think that going into this career, some people, not, I'm not saying you, Brandy, but some people think that they're going to go before the jury because they're looking at this as a lawyer type of, like baby lawyer type of job. It's not, it's an administrative job. And unfortunately, one of the videos I want you to watch on my channel right here after we're done is go look at the video called, it's something like, just put in the search thing, remove mention. It's why I removed mention of my higher education from my resume. I want you to go look at that, okay? That will explain it, and I won't rehash it here. Very important video because people get tied up in degrees, but there's a downside to that, okay? When you're starting out, the degree does not of me. I know paralegals that work there. They are very high on the paralegal going to 2 years of school and getting certified. That's what they want. But that doesn't make a paralegal. It's the experience and knowing what you're doing when you start the job. And nobody knows what they're doing totally when they start the job. School doesn't teach you that. It doesn't. It teaches you some things that are valuable, of course, but it doesn't teach you the practical side, unfortunately. I'm not saying all schools, but most, because that's the feedback I get. And people are totally lost when they sit there in front of the computer and there's nobody to train. That's what I've tried to close that gap with my course. So bachelor degree, it's kudos for us. Hey, I have a bachelor's and a master's, but that doesn't help me in the legal field because it's what I can do when I go in that door and sit down at the desk and hit it. They're not going to be, they're going to be grateful for your service. I'm grateful for your service. My dad fought. He was in Korea in 1950 in the summer as one of the first groups there. I am grateful for your service. every lawyer, every employer should be grateful for that. So, I think what they will see with that is, people assume different things, but I think their assumption would be that you're disciplined and you know how to take direction. Because, of course, that you have to know how to take direction in the military, right? So they are totally understanding, I believe, that somebody coming out of the military would know how to listen to orders. And that's important in the law firm, that the attention be paid to what they're telling you to do. So anyway, thank you for that question. That was really great. Don't be disheartened because I'm saying it's just not as important as we think. To go into some areas of employment, it's absolutely necessary. But it is not that in this. People think that the certificate or being certified is going to get them totally ready, but it's not. So I want the reality of that to sink in, that I don't have to wait. I don't have to go get a certificate. I don't have to wait to go get a job. I just have to know how to apply. I have to get some legal knowledge, which my course will help you through so that you can bump up and get that resume beefed up and do a cover letter the way I show you, which will analyze so much, and the attorney will notice that cover letter. Two different ones you should test and send to two different employers. Very important, this stuff that I teach you here, because it's what I found out when I could not get anybody to call me when I moved to another state, and I had experience then, and they wouldn't call me because I was missing something, and I solved it. And then I started getting calls, and that's what I teach. I teach about interviewing, but I teach where I give you legal knowledge so that you can beef up that resume and you learn a lot of things, and they're seeing that. They're seeing that you took initiative. But watch that video, why I removed mention of my higher education from my resume, and just put removed mention in the search area on my channel, this channel, and then you'll find that video. Very important for you to watch. So, favorite area of law, back to that topic. There were several. I enjoyed the first one because it was my first job, and that's where I cut my teeth. And the trials are interesting to me. Other people might find it boring. I worked in condemnation litigation and eminent domain. It's a tough area because if you're on the side of it, like we worked on the side of the Oklahoma Department of Transportation, so that the airport was expanding. That means they have the right to take your house. And they'll offer what the going rate is for your house. And so sometimes that goes to trial. You don't want to sell your house for that, and so it goes to trial. That's the kind of trials we handled. And then I worked on the other side of it down the road, on the side of the homeowner. That was interesting. Those trials were interesting. They're heartbreaking that somebody's going to lose their house over expansion. But laws were passed decades ago that gave the government the right to do that. Yeah. So that was an area I knew nothing about. The other side of it was probate. I liked working in probate. It was a calm area. But then I liked working where I prepared for trial. Now, the one, my ultimate favorite, is one you may not have ever even heard of. But when the attorney goes through law school and they're done, 3 years of law school and they're done, they have to study for the bar exam, and then they go take the bar exam, right? But afterwards, they have to apply to the bar, their state bar, to be an attorney. And it's a lot of paperwork. And what the board of bar examiners, what they do is they look at your law school application, they look at your college application, they look at how you managed your checking account over the last 2 years. They look, they do. It's like the CIA checking out your background. And so they look at all that stuff. Well, we represented the people who had gone through law school, did all that, and then the board of bar examiners said, we're not going to admit you. We're going to have a hearing. And they would set up a hearing, but you want an attorney that understands this process to work with you, go through what's happened, why they didn't approve you. That was the most interesting area, and it's just a fantastic area to work in. The other part of that practice with that attorney was I didn't personally, but he worked with lawyers that had complaints filed against them. And when that happens, it depends on what that complaint is about. They might be able to resolve it, they might get suspended, because it was just really terrible. There's different reasons why attorneys get into trouble. And so I'm reading your comment, Mia. What was it that it's not American Bar Association. It's the local state bars that, each attorney, depending on where they live, has to apply to their state bar. Like here, it would be the Florida bar. So it's not the American Bar Association regarding this. Working with attorneys, I got to see the other side of the mistakes they make in their office. We got to help an attorney in another city in Florida that was neglecting cases, and the judge was very unhappy with this attorney, and they were going to what they did was they assigned my employer attorney to this guy to make sure he got his act together. Yeah. And his assistant was just really there filling a seat and doing as little as possible, not thinking that she could help this attorney. And I explained to my attorney how things could be better in that office, not to put pressure on her, but that she had some responsibilities in pushing this guy a little bit and managing the workload in that office, because that's what we do as assistants. And some people shirk that responsibility and don't understand that. And so little of how to manage the workload is taught anywhere. And when you go in and you don't know how to do that, that's a big problem. And the attorney's not there, is not going to teach you. Sometimes they don't even know how to do it. I know, mind-boggling, right? That's why they get in trouble. That's why cases are neglected. That's why people will employ an attorney and then they never hear from them for a month. That's because the people in the firm don't have their act together, management-wise. That's not good. That's a recipe for disaster. So it's important I think that what I bring to the table as a teacher is the many years of experience in working in probably, 12 different to 15 different areas of law over the years, and seeing it from all different sides and understanding how the office could run better. I've taught a senior partner how to determine that all the ducks were in a row regarding management. They were flying loose with the management of that workload. And somebody was slacking, one of the paralegals was slacking and didn't want to admit that she was slacking. She was hiding the fact, and her attorney wasn't owning up to it. Well, we had to go into having staff meetings, having firm-wide meetings, and doing things that the senior partner and I did to manage that workload and get to the bottom of who was responsible for that deadline falling through the cracks. So we found out Nobody was shamed publicly. It was just, that's what it takes, because you're dealing with the client's lives. And as an attorney who's an officer of the court, that's what they're called. They have to step up to the plate, and so do their assistants, because it's important. And that's the practical stuff that is not taught. Why is it not taught? Because the classes are taught by attorneys who haven't managed all of this. So you see where I'm coming from? It doesn't make sense. And the reason they're all taught by attorneys is because the school has to maintain its accreditation and has to hire people with higher degrees. They can't hire paralegals comment because they disappear and the comments don't stay up. So just say like hi, and that comment will come back up. Okay, will you do that for me? Just say hello in the comment section, because the comments go whoop and then they disappear, because I missed that one that you typed in. Somebody just type in hello who's watching, so that I can see that last comment. Hello everybody. Just okay, there you go, thanks. Okay, okay Brandy, I'm reading your comment. Yeah, that's it's up to you. Like, if you're ready to graduate with your bachelor's, I wouldn't drop out right now. I mean, if you're graduating, like you're a junior and you're graduating next year, I just don't want you to think that the bachelor's is going to get you more money, or it's going to get your foot in the door. Okay, so that's a call you have to make. I can't tell you that. I'm just telling you that you can break into the field without any of that. And I need you to watch that video I mentioned earlier, okay, and why I'm saying this. So I know people who, and this is back to the original topic, I know people who, and regarding the area of law that you ultimately like, it may be that you have to try 4 different areas of law. The one area I regret not staying in, I just helped out a law firm one time for a week. My paralegal friend invited me to come for a week when I was between jobs and help for a week, and then they wanted me to stay. And I didn't want to stay there because some of the attorneys I knew in other law firms used to mock this law firm, and that's the one regret I had, that I did not stay working for this automobile accident law firm, because they really knew how to use paralegals like no one I've ever seen. And they had a lot of, not freedom, but where they're interviewing clients, then they report back to the attorney. They did a lot of things I hadn't seen before, but not anything weird. It's just was interesting. I'm reading a comment, Mia. Mia says, yep, that's exactly what happened. I took a law clerk program and it was taught by a bunch of lawyers. They taught us a specific area of law, but could not teach us how to be great law clerks. Yeah. And that's, that's a reason why they can't, is because it would be different if they first worked as a paralegal before they became lawyers, which people have done. That's a beautiful way to become a lawyer. That's, to me, the best way to become a lawyer, because you get to see both sides of it, and hopefully you'll always treat staff with respect, because you know what they do all day, and it's a lot. So the practical side is what I try to focus on in my course, because it's missed. It's missed. And, I had someone come on and make a comment here right on the channel. Gosh, it's been several months ago, maybe a year ago, that they went, they landed a job and had their 2-year degree, but that the attorney put the newly graduated paralegal with a secretary there, but the secretary was very nasty. Now, and she said because she was passed over for that job. And I know it's like, well, it's not the graduate's fault that they didn't give the secretary the job. But let me tell you what happens. That secretary wanted to move to that paralegal position, and she was highly qualified to do so. But her attorney did not want to let her go because he liked her work. And while she didn't have the title, she was doing everything a paralegal would do. So when they hired this person out of college, they put her with the secretary and said, "You teach her." Now, that's stuck in her craw, and rightly so. That's not. Attorneys can be clueless. And so that just forces that secretary to go, I'm going to go look somewhere else and see if I can get a paralegal job and leave these yo-yos behind, because they couldn't see the value. They knew the value, but they couldn't see that they were going to lose her. And that's really just flat out stupid. And that attorney becomes jealous that that secretary wants to move to another lawyer, and then they have to go find an employee. So, and if they keep her in a legal secretary position, maybe they're never going to pay her what they might pay a paralegal. They're afraid of changing her title because then she may hit them up for more money or something. That goes on in their minds, you know. And that's why when I would come up against anything like that, then I would go to another law firm and bump my salary up. Okay, somebody say hello again, because that comment disappeared. Post that, whoever posted the last comment, okay, thanks. Okay, Brandy, well, I want to, hold on. Well, I want to ultimately be the best paralegal. No, they don't train overall, Brandy. And if you look at ads and you see training provided, not usually true. Okay? You can go for it, and they may sit you down for two weeks and show you some stuff, but then they're sick of it, and then they want you to fly, and you're not ready to fly. Okay? There's not a trend in putting that in ads, but you'll see it here and there in ads. Just had somebody go through that, and it's been a horrendous experience because she's a smart cookie, very smart cookie, catches on fast, okay? But in order to learn the nuances of an area of law and everything you have to do, it takes at least 2 months before you feel like you're getting some of it. It takes 6 months to say hi. Somebody say hi again so that comment comes up for me, please. It takes 6 months before you feel like, okay, I'm getting the hang of some of this. Thanks. Yeah, Mia, the thing is on that, Mia's has completed a community college program. The thing is, yes, I know I created a program, but this is my passion and my heart, because I cannot stand that people think they have to spend thousands of dollars. One person just in the last month said, I just looked at a course and it was $26,000 to complete the course. Now, I don't know what school this was, but I was like, that. Don't go into debt like that. You have to have base office skills, because somebody said to me, I'm looking at going into this, but I don't want to answer phones and I don't want to deal with the public. I would say, forget that. Don't go into it, because you are an administrative person. Everything I learned as a supermarket cashier, as a retail person handling the customers at a kiosk, as a person working in the marketing department of a corporation, um, running my own business, and you know, all of that, all of the customer experience played into dealing with the clients properly and troubleshooting their problems when an attorney wouldn't call them back. I'm going to bug that attorney till he doesn't want to see, he or she does not want to see my face at their door anymore, because I am going to serve that client. See? So I don't let up. And you have to be a bulldog in researching online and taking, webinars here and there. You have to understand that you're not being taught the practical side. That can be disheartening after spending that money, right? And then you're not prepared. And that's scary, very scary. And I would say, take my course so that you can, now you may be in school debt, right? And I had somebody say, don't tell me I won't make what I made in my other job of $50,000+ because I have debt and I have to pay this back. I have to tell you that you're not going to make what it says on Google is the average salary of a paralegal. That is so ridiculous. That anybody who comes in with zero, really, truly, zero hands-on experience is going to make 50,000. That's Disney World thinking. But we research and we see that stuff, but just because it says it on the internet, they're putting everybody's salary into the mix and averaging that out. Don't send me questions that what will I make then as a beginner? What do you need to make to pay your basic expenses and your mortgage and your rent and all of that? You have to line all that out and go, what do I need to make? Can I possibly get that in a first job? I don't know what your expenses are. For me, I made a sacrifice of driving 40 miles one way and getting piddly money, very low salary, to break in. That's a long time ago. But still, it's like we can't look at that. That's not realistic that we're going to make $50,000 when we start out. Nobody should get that starting out, let me tell you. No degree makes you worth that. You cannot help that attorney starting out unless you take my course. You understand? And that is the truth. Yeah. Well, I never, they all put their pants, they got to tie Mia. And that's the attitude I had to take. I was respectful, but they were no greater than me. And they're make them. And so while I was respectful, I didn't take bad behavior. So I won't work for a lawyer who acts like, and doctors can act that way too, because multiple years of school and residency, and they know how to cut people open. It's like, sorry to get graphic, but egos can be out of control. And they're paid a lot of money. Attorneys like to act like they're paid a lot of money, and some are barely scraping by. They want to act and dress like they have a lot of money. There are good and bad in every profession. And the attorney that I worked for, my first mentor attorney, and then I worked for him in my third job, he was not caught up in all that. He was a practical person. He grew up in wealth. And he saw that how unreal it was. His brother was a doctor, his father was a psychologist, and he became the attorney. And they tried to make him feel lesser than, truly. So he was a good person. that's who I would shoot to look for. That's why when I teach you in the interview module how to ask questions, and I teach you what I've learned to understand what you're getting into, then that's what you need to do. That helps you do a great interview, but that's not to only impress them, that's to come away with information for yourself. Do I really want to work there? What was I observing? Mm-hmm. I teach you what attorneys look for, and very important, just the interview modules are worth everything. So I'm looking forward to starting at 12:01 next morning on the 8th, and registration runs through the 15th. So what's disheartening to me is that people then sometimes don't continue to go after this career when they're meant to be in it because they couldn't get anybody to consider them. And some people come away saying, well, they only take people who are experienced. But see, that's an excuse because we're fearful. We don't know why they're not hiring us. We don't know what's wrong. We don't know why they're not paying attention to our resume. There are bona fide reasons why they're not paying attention. And that's what we talk about in the course. Okay? Lots of stuff that we discuss. I don't do your resume for you, and I don't review your resume or cover letter. You learn how to do it. And it's pulling the big boy, big girl pants on and learning how to do it and testing it, testing 2 different cover letters. But you have to have something to put on that resume besides education. Okay? And that means that you know how to help that attorney. And Brandy, yeah. Well, we talk about that in my class. It's every area of law is different, so different. And I don't teach every area of law. There are hundreds of areas, but I give you there's about 50 videos in this course. And then I'm going to open up a membership, which I'm designing right now for later on. That'll be a monthly thing that will go on at least for a year, that where we go into other things. Okay, I'm designing it now. But right now, this course is comprehensive and has a lot of meat in it. And we don't know look, even after you take the course, you're going to learn more things in the law firm, in that particular area of law. What I want is that you go and you understand that you're going with a decent law firm. There are a lot of law firms out there that are not good, and I don't want you to go with them. So how you do the interview is everything. And when they say training, I want this to stick here, that most of the time that's not so, and that it's all well and good for about 2 weeks. And then the person that they've assigned to you to train you, they have a heap of work they have to go to, and they don't have time to answer all your questions. They should commit to that, but they don't. They don't. It's not realistic for them. They can't have somebody just being a trainer. They can't afford it, most of them. So that's all pretty bogus in the ad. Overall, it's bogus. I want you to understand that, okay? Don't be disheartened, because if you're meant to be in this field, you're going to go after it. And we have to jump over fear hurdles no matter what. There's not an interview that I've ever gone on where I haven't been afraid. And first days, are always put fear in every single one of us. I don't care how much or how little experience we have, it's all very fear producing. But it's jumping over that. That is the continual. We've accomplished a lot of things in our lives already. How did we do that? For me, it's my faith that gets me through. So it's pray. I would pray before the interview, and I felt one day that God was saying, hey, if they say no, it's because I don't want you there. There's a reason. Learn from each interview. Yeah, but you can't get you can't go on an interview if you don't know how to get noticed. And I teach you how to do that. But you have to have legal knowledge in order to get noticed. So there are certain places, yeah, amen, Mia, certain places you should never work. And so for me, it's saying, God, you show me, I don't want to be here. And I teach you, there are red flags that you should notice when we go into that, okay? All right, I've talked long enough. It's like over 50 minutes now. And so thank you, Catherine, for that question. Why I became a paralegal. It's mainly because I wanted to build a career and this looked like the way to go, or I would have gone into medical. But I really didn't, you know why I didn't go into medical? Because I didn't want to go through all the insurance company stuff. I just, it wasn't something that, was pulling me. But the legal field, I had 2 aunts in the legal field, and I thought they'd find it interesting. I think I want to look at it. I dove in without knowing what it was about. And I learned quickly. Believe that thing about it would take 10 years. I really didn't believe it. People say stuff that isn't true. And so the second job was very challenging because it was a full-fledged paralegal job, and I had to fly by the seat of my pants. And yes, there were fearful days, and learned a lot there, and then went with the first attorney when he opened up a practice and then set up that office and did everything. But I had built a business, so I was used to that, to a startup, and had a blast doing that. And then went to, we ended up moving shortly after that. It was a little ways after that we moved to Florida. And then that's where I learned a lot more and how to get over hurdles, because no one would call me when I sent my resume in. That's what I teach you. That's one of the hurdles I teach you how to get over. So have a great one, everybody. Thanks so much for being here and for listening to me flap my lips. And thank you, Brandy and Mia and Catherine and everybody asking questions. You can do this. Oh, thanks, Mia. I'm glad you were here with me today. And, Brandy, it depends on how far along you are in school. If it's like you have a year left, I don't know. I would probably still go for that, but I wouldn't necessarily look at a paralegal certificate and spend more money. I really wouldn't. That's my personal opinion. It's just a waste of money, in my humble opinion. So that's it, guys. Thank you so much. And don't give up. Keep going forward. And I hope to see you in class this week. All right. Have a great one. I'll talk to you in the next video. Bye.